All right, we are back in the building. What is going on?
What's happening? What's happening?
There's a lot happening, I guess, right?
Yeah, a lot happening in the news. So you want to start with that?
Yeah,
See what's really going on?
get right into it. Why don't we? All right, do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
All right, let me see if I can do this. Hopefully, I won't get tongue twisted, tongue tied. All right, here we go. Tanker attack. UK and US blame Iran for deadly ship attack. The MV Mercer Street, operated by an Israeli-owned firm, was attacked off Oman on Thursday. A British national and a Romanian citizen were killed. The statements came after Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said there was, quote, evidence, end quote, that its long-standing foe Iran was responsible. Mr. Bennett warned that we know how to send a message to Iran in our own way, while Tehran rejected what is called the baseless accusations. On Monday, Iran warned the UK, US, and Israel that any actions in response to the drone attack on the tanker will be met with a severe and decisive answer. The attack on the MV Mercer Street appears to be the latest escalation in an undeclared shadow war between Israel and Iran.
The Philippine president told unvaccinated people, "For all I care, you can die anytime," as he continues his brutal threats against vaccine deniers. The president of the Philippines said he didn't care if people who deny the coronavirus vaccine died from the virus. Rodrigo Duterte said in a national address on Wednesday, "For those of you who don't want it, well, for all I care, you can die anytime." He added that he wanted the police to restrict the movement of people who refuse coronavirus vaccines. To those people who don't want to be vaccinated, I'm telling you, do not go out of your house. If you go out of your house, I will tell the police to return you to your home. You will be escorted back to your house because you are a walking spreader. Wow. Hopefully you make it home with that tough talk.
Man, he is O to the G. Tokyo Olympics viewership hits low, or actually hits new low on NBC. NBC's Tokyo Olympics primetime coverage netted around 10.5 million linear views on Friday, the smallest audience of the games for the network so far. Over the same night of the Rio Olympics, NBC's primetime viewership was down 56%. NBC claimed 15.2 million total audience delivery for Friday night, with Peacock notching its best ever Friday usage. According to the network in TAD, its primetime coverage was now reached an audience of 15 million for the 7th day in a row. Viewership was down, though, from Thursday, which marked the 2021 games, second most watched and second highest rated day, bringing in an average of 16.2 million viewers. Yeah, it's interesting. You can go to the next slide. But yeah, I just wanted to say, I guess they're even trying to put Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg to having their highlight show as well. I don't know if that's helping at all, but it is what it is.
I have not seen one Olympic event.
No?
No, not one. Maybe I'll go back and look at some highlights, but I'm sure not watching live. Okay, Amazon violated labor law in Alabama union election, labor officials fine. The National Labor Relations Board has determined that Amazon violated labor law after workers at its Bessemer, Alabama warehouse tried to join a union, the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Workers Union said Monday. Workers at the Alabama warehouse voted against forming a union in April. Representatives of the union immediately challenged the outcome on the grounds that Amazon engaged in illegal interference with employees votes to discourage them from unionizing. The vote was 1,798 opposing the union and 738 in favor. The union accused Amazon of creating an atmosphere of confusion, coercion, and fears of reprisals among workers at the facility. The director who presided over the NLRB hearing will recommend whether a new election is conducted, the union said in a statement. But the final decision whether the workers will be allowed to cast new ballots and form a union ultimately lies with the director of the regional NLRB office based in Atlanta. A representative for the NLRB declined to comment.
California's eviction moratorium was extended, but its end looms for many renters. When California's eviction moratorium ends, the rental market faces a crisis. Renters in errors could end up homeless, and landlords could end up holding the bag on months of unpaid rent. 7 million Americans are now behind on their rent due to the pandemic. Both the national and California eviction moratoriums have been extended. They both prevent people from being evicted, and they provide financial help for renters. But many people who've taken advantage of the moratorium say the system is complicated and getting the money takes too long. To note, California moratorium extends to September 30th. For those in other states that are watching or will eventually watch, if you are concerned about being evicted, you can go to NOLO.com. That's NOLO.com/evictions/ban. And we do not promote NOLO, or they are not sponsors of this show. It's just a reference that everyone can go to if you guys have any questions.
All right. And it looks like Corey Bush had a hand in getting the moratorium extended. Anti-eviction lawmaker camps overnight on U.S. Capitol steps. The House Democrats said shortly before the freeze expired at midnight Saturday that 7 million people would be at risk for evictions over unpaid rent. The freeze was imposed 11 months ago in part to halt the spread of infections through crowding in shelters. Ms. Bush, who was once homeless, wants the measure to be extended. In a tweet early on Saturday, she wrote, "Good morning. The eviction moratorium expires tonight at midnight. We could have extended it yesterday, but some Democrats went on vacation instead. We slept at the Capitol last night to ask them to come back to do their jobs. Today's their last chance. We're still here."
Well, speaking of homes, Jay-Z and Will Smith invest in rent-to-own startup Landis. Jay-Z and Will Smith are among a list of investors involved in a startup that helps renters build credit until they can buy a home. Landis Technologies is raising $165 million from a group of investors that include Sequoia Capital, Jay-Z's Rock Nation, and Will Smith's Dreamers VC, Bloomberg reports. Founded by Cyril Berdugo and Tom Petit. The startup models its service on a rent-to-own strategy for would-be homeowners who can't afford to buy. The company's investment comes at a time when working-class Americans are struggling to acquire home ownership amid soaring prices. Landis purchases a home and rents it out to the future homeowner until they can qualify for a mortgage. Yep. You have anything to say on that?
I just suggest doing your homework before you get into any rent to buy scenario. And that's all I'll say.
Yep.
Lawmakers consider withholding housing funds from tribes that discriminate against descendants of enslaved people. House lawmakers are considering legislation that would withhold federal funds from tribal nations who discriminate against freedmen, the descendants of people they once enslaved. The House Committee on Financial Services held a subcommittee hearing on Tuesday to discuss reauthorizing the Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act, NAHASDA, a federal government program that provides assistance to tribal governments to support affordable housing and infrastructure. Included in the draft bill is a provision that would require tribes to uphold their ends of the agreements made with the U.S. government and ensure full tribal citizenship rights for freedmen before they can receive federal housing assistance. This is a fight that is about fairness and equality. Rep. Maxine Waters, chairwoman of the House Committee on Financial Services, said at the hearing, "For one minority group to discriminate against another minority group cannot stand. And as the chair of this committee, I don't intend for it to stand." What do you think about that? Long overdue?
Yep. Good for Auntie Maxine Waters. Look at her doing her thing.
Yeah, doing her thing. So, you can teach teach them new tricks, and that's in the news.
All right, family. So please like, share, and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and go tell
Hit the
everybody.
bell.
Hit that bell. Ding, ding. Appreciate that. So we're going to have a pretty short show tonight. It's not going to be that long. We just wanted to come in and throw some ideas out there and if you guys have any ideas, suggestions, hit us up at etmmediagroup@gmail.com, or in the chat, just put something out there. So tonight we're going to be talking about reparations transformation, and what could that look like. And if you guys have any ideas on what you think reparations look like, definitely let us know. As everybody is probably familiar with, who's going to be watching this or who's already watching this now, there is a task force right now that's studying for reparations. And so they're looking for comments, and they're looking for your input. So this is the time to get on the floor, regardless if you're in California or not. Hopefully, support this movement, even if you're African American who descends from slave, or if you're an ally, we would really appreciate everyone's input and everyone's support on this.
Definitely. We are shooting our reparations recommendation shot, and you should shoot your shot too. The task force wants to hear from you. So let's talk about it. All right. So finance, that's definitely a big one on the list. So cash payments and what that could look like out here in California. We know that any cash payments, would not be in place of any federal reparations legislation that comes down the pike if they ever get around to that. But, what could a cash payment look like? And any thoughts on that, Yamoya?
I mean, not really. I mean, especially since we're not economists. I don't want to throw any numbers out there.
Okay.
People can do their own research. I don't know if you guys want to throw something in the chat. What cash payments should be sent out to people who descend from, American slavery. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But that's definitely something that the task force needs to be looking at.
Definitely, for sure.
All right. Another one on my wish list, if we're talking about generational wealth and keeping that going, would be life insurance. And any kind of life insurance, I think, would need to be whole life insurance versus term life insurance. I'm just learning myself, that term life insurance, it terms out. I mean, that doesn't go for the entirety of your life. So you pay on it for 20 or 30 years. If you survive that time, which, knock on wood, we hope you would. Um, but that does nullify the life insurance contract. So whole life insurance, heavily subsidized, is something that I would definitely like to see. Since I am looking at whole life insurance policies, I can tell you that they're pretty pricey. So I don't know. A lot of people that would be afford to carry a whole life insurance contract. At this time, I think the numbers were like between $500-$800 a month, just to cover your premium.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if some reparations program can be set aside for that, that'd be nice.
Well, I'm definitely gonna be pushing for that. So if there's anybody out there who's in the life insurance game, has any information about what a reparations you know package could look like in regard to life insurance, hit us up, ETM Media Group at gmail.com, or just drop it in the chat here. Drop it in the chat. All right. And with cash payments and life insurance, we'd be needing some financial literacy, investments, credit, budget planning, will and trust estate planning. Very important there. Who would be doing all that work?
Kim, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's something that the task force can recommend. Maybe that's somebody in the financial industry can recommend. I don't know if that's going to be a firm, an agency, or a bureau dedicated, or assigned with the government, or if it's going to be independent. Great questions. I mean, who knows? But I do think, though, at minimum, Black folk need to know, once they get these reparations, how to properly allocate their money instead of just, spending on those stereotypical, Jordans and Gucci bags and all that other stuff. I don't know too many of my people who buying all that other stuff, but if they are, they can probably better source their investment somewhere else outside of those types of endeavors. So I do think this can be at least part of the repair that needs to happen in our community.
All right. Now, with financial literacy, now what if they said, that you had to go through these financial literacy and investments and budgeting plan in order to get your reparations? Would you still think that needs to be a criteria, or is that something, in addition to?
I don't know. I don't know about it out there in the chat how they feel. But for me, I don't think that it should be required. I mean, I think everybody who does receive the reparations should, decide to do whatever they want to. But I think, though, that at least, it should be an option
Yeah,
available.
definitely an option available. I agree. All right. Then we have reinvesting currency into the Black community. So I think on this one, we first, as always, need to identify the community. Are we talking about a community, an enclave of people who are living near each other, or is it a community of people who receive the reparations? What's the community look like that needs reinvesting?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I mean, Black people live everywhere. We live in wealthy neighborhoods, we live in not so wealthy neighborhoods, right? um some states, but if we're in particular talking about California, I know there's some quote unquote enclaves where majority of black people live, especially down in Los Angeles. um, but even that, those areas are getting gentrified, especially around South Los Angeles, Compton and Watts, etc. So this is definitely a topic that should be raised. What is reinvesting in our community look like, once we receive these reparations? I mean, that could look like a lot of things. I mean, black people are online. You can start within your family, trying to reinvest in your family. Those are just some of my suggestions. But as the time gets closer, people should really start thinking about this. How to keep that generational wealth flowing. Once these reparations happen.
For sure. And one way to invest in the Black community is through business and industry, manufacturing. We're missing our guy Chris today, our business guru Chris, to talk about, what kind of manufacturing, um, you know, businesses and industries even exist in the Black community. But some of the business industries, they could use some investment, reinvestment, or just investment. Uh, Manufacturing, technology, agriculture, construction, automotive, retail, grocery, health, media, transportation, air, land, water, etc.
Yeah, there's a lot of industries, and those are just some of the industries that um, some of not only the current corporations can support in this reparations movement, but that black people can actually then create within these particular fields as well, because as everyone is aware, black people are often left out and aren't supported as much, not only in the corporate industry, but as entrepreneurs as well, and small businesses.
And anyone out there watching or who will be watching, if you think of any industries that need some serious investment, reinvestment in Black communities, please share your thoughts. All right, education, free college tuition, including support HBCUs, supporting trade schools. Now, today we're kind of focused on California reparations, and I was like, oh, are there even any HBCUs in California? You say that there is indeed one that you know of.
Yes, there is one down in Los Angeles, the Charles Drew um, School down in Los Angeles. The great, I want to say he was a chemist. I could be wrong, um, but I know he did study science. So I believe that school is heavy into the sciences.
Into the
So yes,
STEM and stuff.
Charles Drew, yes,
Okay.
phenomenal ancestor. That
Yeah.
so yeah, so we do have one HBCU in California that can be supported.
Sounds like that HBCU could use some love and support. I mean, I didn't even know it was there. So definitely support that HBCU. Supporting trade schools, which is, there's a lot of discussion around trade schools right now versus these universities that are putting people in heavy debt, not guaranteed any high wage jobs after you get out. A lot of people who with college degrees that are working at Starbucks and driving Uber and DoorDash and all of that. Trade schools seems like you can get out. People say you start out at $30 an hour and you're on your way, moving on up.
Yeah, and there's supposedly a lot of jobs that aren't being fulfilled right now because people are coming out of COVID. getting their unemployment checks and so forth, brothers and sisters, coming out of the, penitentiary. Um, it's a good option, for people who aren't into, getting quote unquote higher education, going to, a JC or university, or even, getting their master's or PhD. So trade's very important. Without trade, we wouldn't have our electricity on, for our electricians, masonry, building, etc. So it's a good thing to fall back on as well.
Get back into the trades. And I definitely think, state colleges, there should be free college tuition for state colleges, private colleges, Ivy Leagues. Maybe that's something else that needs to be discussed, but state colleges definitely need to be an option that's available. Low cost option, no cost option, whatever. All right. And then, of course, housing. We just had few stories about housing in the news there. So that's very important in the Black community. Housing, a mortgage forgiveness program for people that already have mortgages. Of course, what would you like to see as a housing proposition in a reparations package?
Kim, that's a great question, because we'd probably have to go further into it, and obviously we could love to have Key back on, because she's the more of the expert and has expertise in this industry. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty plain and simple in terms of owning a house. That's where according to this society, a lot of your wealth comes from, owning real estate, owning a home. So
Right.
that's part of it, you know what I mean? Trying to get into the, real estate game. But if you don't have any capital, and you're locked out, then what are you supposed to do? But, if you've got that little check, reparations check, and also, maybe part of the whole reparations package could be, some kind of, in addition to the mortgage, forgiveness program, maybe, they can actually support, more real estate, Black-owned real estate companies, firms, as well, in addition, and banks, etc.
Yeah, everything that supports the housing industry, more of that in the Black business industry. And for housing, I think definitely these mortgages should be backed, federally funded mortgages backed by, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, not these predatory third-party lenders. Definitely need some protections, and we've been, the prey for long enough. So I definitely would like to see that included. And I know I'll be getting my proposal together for that. Hopefully, Key can help me flesh all that out. What something like that could look like. And you also have rental assistance program here too. What would that look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but maybe, some kind of stipend of some sort. There's rumors going around about a universal income. Maybe they can have a universal, rental assistance support, for reparations as well. For those that for some reason aren't able to, afford a mortgage or get a mortgage, maybe that could be part of the reparations, package.
And maybe a non-predatory rent-to-own program. But we'll see what Jay-Z and Will Smith's plan looks like before we start bashing it too bad. All right. And then land, agriculture, building, commercial or residential, sourcing minerals, buying abandoned towns, establishing council members, first responders, hospitals, etc. groundwater resources. So it sounds like you're trying to build your own little town somewhere, huh?
Hey, you're trying to get little Africa back, you know. Greenwood, you know, was burnt down. We're trying to get it back in all 50 states, you know. So
All right. Ain't mad at that. And then finally on our list, we have government, a freedmen's branch or bureau carved out that specifically deals with freedmen issues and interest.
yeah, I mean, you know, there is you know, the caucuses out there, and I'm not gonna, you know, throw anybody under the bus.
All right.
But yeah, I think yeah, I do agree that there should be some type of branch that specifically deals with, um, you know, especially if we're talking about reparations, that should be allocated for, you know, people who descend from, you know, the system of you know, U.S. slavery here in America. So yeah, I mean, that's not a
Definitely.
huge list, but you know, it's a start. And we just wanted to put that out there to the ether world just to kind of get some feedback, you know, to see what, you know, others thought. And, you know, whatever, you know, ideas are welcomed. And, you know, we'll see where we go from here, you know.
All right. Now, speaking of the tiny towns, you put together a little compilation here of some tiny towns that are actually available. Can go purchase them right now if you want to. We've got Johnsonville, Connecticut. Let's see, Tiller, Oregon. Some of these towns are. I mean, they seem like they. I did look at the link that you provided me. And a matter of fact, I'll drop that in the chat for anybody else who wants to look at these towns. But there's some pretty reasonable prices on these. A couple of them were going for under $1 million.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing, you know, I mean, when individuals who want to have some type of sovereignty as much as you can here in America, can galvanize their resources and actually participate, you know, in the process of building literally or restructuring, you know, some of these towns. They're available supposedly. So, you know, the question is why haven't others, you know, if you want to talk about specifically with the Black community, why, you know, we haven't, or anybody else of that matter, haven't gone and, you know, purchased some of these places to rebuild, you know, their society, how they see it. I know that's just a question.
All right. Now, which of these towns would you want to go by?
Definitely the Hell, Michigan.
What stuck out to you about the Hale, Michigan?
Just the name. That was it. We live in hell now, so we figured, hey, you know, hell on earth. Why not? We could change hell to heaven, right? We'll change it to Heaven, Michigan.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, so definitely check it out, and mobilize the team once the reparations come in, and go get some of that property.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know. Do we have any? Oh yeah. So we got a couple more slides, right?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So did you want to go over this one?
Yeah, let's go over this. Nationally, white families are significantly wealthier than all other racial and ethnic groups combined. Household median net worth by race and ethnicity, US 2016. So we have white over here at 171,000, and everyone else at 103, $103,000. Roughly
combined.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So if we break that down, right? It's like Black median net worth, according to 2016, was 17,600. Latinx was 20,700, and other was 64,800. Non-white.
That's pretty jarring. So, reparations is about closing the wealth gap. So, quite a ways to go. All right. Want to read through this, Yamoya?
Yeah, we'll read through a little bit. Data specific. I think this one is to Los Angeles. You want to show the Los Angeles?
Oh, is that Los Angeles?
This was the Los Angeles one.
Okay.
All right. So in the Los Angeles area, Black and Latinx Californians have significantly less wealth than do other groups. This is another median net worth chart based on a census taken by the California Budget and Policy Center in 2014. Looks like whites have 355,000 is their net worth. Blacks 76,000, and the Latinx 46,000. Some non-white ethnic groups are 408,000 for Chinese, Asian Indian 460,000, and Japanese $592,000. So yeah, been here for 400 years, $76,000.
Right. And then, I asked earlier, and we'll have to try to get an answer to that question, is if Japanese were able to amass so much wealth, due to the repair that they received through reparations.
Great question.
So we're going back to LA, which is labeled national family, but if it's LA, it's LA.
All right. So data specific to the Los Angeles area highlights wealth inequality at the local level in California. In 2014, in Los Angeles and Orange counties, U.S.-born whites had a much higher median household net worth. Once again, you saw on that chart, 355,000, than did most non-whites, including Latinx households at 46,000 and U.S.-born Blacks, $4,000. And I believe that $4,000 was then disaggregated from other Blacks. That's what I'm assuming, because as we looked in the other chart, it says 76,000, but according to this text here, U.S. born Blacks is $4,000.
Okay. At the same time, among non-white groups, Japanese 592,000, Asian Indian 460,000, and Chinese 408,200 households had greater median net wealth than whites. The variation among Asian groups may reflect differing socioeconomic histories and migration patterns, and it echoes findings of substantial wealth inequity among Asian American communities in the United States. These racial and ethnic differences reveal how some groups are better positioned to make the kinds of critical investments in their future that benefit their families and the broader community. Got to have money to make money.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So is this the national one?
Yes, I believe, but it's labeled LA, but let's just roll with it.
All right. All right, my bad. But we're gonna get it right. It's all good. All right, so I guess I'll take the top part. So this is in regards to that national chart, that median net worth chart that we were looking at. Weathering adverse events is more challenging for households that lack sufficient wealth. When families face financial setbacks such as job loss or unexpected expenses, liquid assets, which can be converted easily to cash, such as money in the bank, offer a needed financial cushion. Unfortunately, many Black and Latinx families across the country do not have enough liquid wealth to absorb sudden shocks. Nationally, Blacks in 2011 had only $25 in median liquid wealth, and Latinx residents had just $100. In contrast, the typical white family had $3,000 in assets that they could quickly convert to cash if needed. In the Los Angeles area, the median value of liquid assets for white households in 2014 was $110,000 compared to $200 for US born Blacks. $0 and $7 for Mexican and non Mexican Latinx households, respectively, $500 for Vietnamese, and $245,000 for Asian Indians. Moreover, while the majority of American families own some wealth, too many have zero or negative net worth, indicating more debt than assets. This problem also varies by race and ethnicities, with far fewer white households nationally at 9%, having no wealth in 2016 than did Black 19% or Latinx households at 13%. You want to take the rest?
Sure.
Cool.
Families with greater wealth are better positioned to be able to transfer resources to family or friends. In addition to having more wealth, whites generally are better able to rely on their social networks during hard times. In 2016, more than 7 in 10 white families expected that they could get $3,000 from friends or family during a financial emergency, with less than half of Black and Latinx households reporting the same. These disparities are not a natural occurrence, nor are they due to the individual failings of people of color. Rather, as the next section points out, there are structural problems deeply rooted in our nation's long history of racism, which has infused every aspect of our economy and which our nation has failed to fully remedy.
Hence, reparations. Don't know what else to say, but
so let's test that theory out. Can I hold 3K?
Can you hold 3K just right now? Just boom, huh? Let me go back to the money tree and give me some 3K.
All right. I know. As long as you got me, I'll never be broke.
Of course.
So,
yeah, thanks family for joining us, hanging out a little bit, talking about reparations and what it may look like, what it could look like. I know there's some negative detractors out there trying to say reparations will never happen, but obviously, oh, that's hilarious. 2,500 short. I think we all pretty short too. Yeah, it's nuts, man. There's just a lot of distraction going on, with this whole voting thing. I know it's important. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. Instead of focusing on what we need to focus on, which is, most important, reparations right now. And then, take care of yourself, your health, your family, just trying to have a positive attitude, even in amongst, what we're going through right now as a Black community. Just trying to figure out, what the next steps are. Cause I know we've talked about advocating, for reparations, but I think we need to continue the conversation of what does that look like. Oftentimes, we don't prepare for anything, we always look, with just right here instead of trying to look, down into the future, which I think we should and can do, and be positive that we are going to get reparations. We're not going to get reparations, 3, 4, 5 generations from now. Why can't we get reparations right now? And we can. I mean, look, we're doing it, but people have to participate. I mean, that's the whole thing. It just can't be a handful of people. Shout out to everybody, who's in the room, who's listening, or who will listen to this, right? You're part of it. I know, shout out to Chris, He wasn't able to join tonight, but as he always says, I mean, you're part of it. You are this, and without you, without us, without everybody's participation, we wouldn't be here today doing what we're doing. So, I appreciate everybody coming through, and, hopefully we're going to be back again next week. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, or who we may or may not have on next week. But we're going to try to, come through, give that good information, as we always try.
As we always try to do. And we do have a NorCal regional meeting coming up on the 14th. So look for information on that. Tell a friend, come through. It will be a virtual meeting with the, uptick in Delta variant. We were going to get together and in person for some, fellowship and reparations advocacy, but we've decided to have that meeting online, which means you can all attend no matter where you are at in the world. So again, look for information on that. But definitely it's geared towards people in Northern California. So anybody who's interested in this reparation discussion, have them come through and, hear the word. Hear the word on these reparation streets. And with that, anything else to say, Yamoya?
I think that's it, family.
All right. So we're going to leave you with this little redistricting PSA. It is time for redistricting, redrawing our redistrict lines. Happens every 10 years with the census. It's very important. So you want to look and see how you can get involved with redistricting efforts in your city as well. Until next time, family, peace.